Hey everybody, welcome back to another book review. Today we're going to be taking a look at Into the Dark by Claudia Gray. This is a young adult novel and definitely my most anticipated one of the High Republic releases. I have really anxiously been awaiting for this book, and it did not disappoint in my opinion. It was really, really good, so I am very excited to talk to you a little bit about it and then obviously help you decide if it's something that you want to pick up and take your time reading. So like always, I have my notes, which I'm just going to set to the side so I can kind of reference them as I go. So Into the Dark is written by Claudia Gray. She is a pretty established Star Wars writer within the Disney era of Star Wars novels, and overall I think in general she is a good Star Wars writer, and that's my personal opinion. She has written quite a few Star Wars books. She has written Lost Stars, which is my favorite Star Wars book. She has done Bloodline, Leia, Princess of Alderaan, another one which I have read, and then Master and Apprentice, which is her newest one minus Into the Dark. So that makes 5 total. So overall, I'd say she's actually probably the most established Star Wars writer out of all the High Republic writers so far. So, I don't know. Take that or leave it. I don't know. So, and in case anybody is wondering, checking out the cover, we have Wreath Solace and Affi or Affie Hollow. Again, when books, obviously come out and you read them, sometimes pronunciations can kind of vary. I didn't listen to this book, and I haven't heard anybody say the name, so I read it mostly as Affi, but it also could be Affie, technically, by the spelling, so just go with it here. If I mispronounce something that, you pronounce differently, it's not a huge deal. So basically, the book is broken into 3 main parts. It's not separated into parts like Light of the Jedi was, but you have a main, the disaster from hyperspace, and then the station that they board, and then you have a back to Coruscant, and then back to the station. And so I like that it's broken into really distinct portions. I think that works really well. And I think that overall, as a whole, Claudia Gray's characters are well written and entertaining, and you definitely can invest in them. At least as from a reader standpoint, for myself, I was able to do that. Okay, so just jumping into some of the things that I really, really loved, because again, I don't want to give away the plot of this book because I really think it's worth picking up and reading. But basically, it truly is everything that I wanted out of a Star Wars novel. There is something about this plot that is so oddly familiar, and I can't put my thumb on it, and I still can't. It's got a mix of some of the old Star Wars novels that had a bit of mystery, a bit of real ancient alien civilization that I've read in a couple of Star Wars novels, and it was very reminiscent to me of the movie Sphere. If you've never seen it, it is awesome. It's a psychological thriller, and it's one of my favorite movies, and it was really reminiscent of that. So, the plot, the main plot, or the main, I guess, setting of the story, it takes place on this, old ancient alien space station, basically, and I don't know how to pronounce the aliens' names. They're Amazine, Amaxine, I don't know. So I'm going to try to avoid using the name because I actually don't know how it's pronounced. I just kind of ran through it in my mind when I read it. But it is a really interesting, kind of haunting station. I immediately wanted to know more about it, and I was super curious. So that was really cool. So the setting in general with this station is keeps you wanting to read overall. I also liked the really strong connection to the dark side that this book had. It wasn't just talked about, it was a main element of this novel. And I won't really go too far into it because, again, I don't want to spoil it because I think it's worth reading. But it was really good. I thought that, the dark side element was very interesting. It had a couple of shortfalls, but really, truly, overall, very entertaining. In terms of characters, I really liked Wreath, and the pilot from the vessel. His name is Leox, and I don't know if that's Leox or Leos, depending on how you pronounce that X. I kind of pronounced it as Leox in my head. I liked his character. He was really interesting. Definitely a all around, he was a good guy kind of character, but you could tell he kind of dabbled into the illegal. Really good. I liked him. He was really laid back and basically a father figure to Affi, and she was a good character as well. I liked her story. And then there was Geode, who's awesome. He's this rock, and she wrote him so funny. I mean, it never got old. It was kind of a running joke that Wreath the Padawan couldn't figure out how Geode was sentient because he's a giant boulder. It's in SpongeBob. you know, the boulders that move, but Squidward never sees them move until the very end. It literally was a play off of that. It was so funny. I really like that. I also really liked Wreath because he was a Padawan that was really unlike other Star Wars like Jedi characters that are written when they're written to be like adventurous and, you know, willing to take risks and stuff. He's like a historian, and I like that because there are those in the Jedi Order, and obviously they don't go on as many adventures, but they're still worth noting that. And I liked that his character was a little bit more hesitant to go on adventure and whatnot, but I thought that he was a really good character. He wasn't annoying or anything to me, so I liked him for that. It was just kind of different. It was a fresh take on kind of like maybe a Jedi apprentice. When they went to Coruscant, I liked that she had written it. It felt pretty bustling. It felt like it was an active city. I really liked how she explained in depth more of the details of the temple on Coruscant. Really cool. You get some really neat also Sith history in that as well, which I really liked. The Bind Guild was also cool, which is what Leox and Geode and Aphie work for, this big like shipping guild. They'll do kind of anything. They're like mercenaries sort of. And they make it to so the Legacy run is a Bind Guild ship, and I thought that that was really cool. That was a nice tie-in, you know, to the overarching, you know, reach of the whole, you know, hyperspace anomaly. And overall, I like that it didn't really at all repeat anything that we read in The Last Jedi, or the Light of oh my gosh, The Light of Skywalker. What? The Light of the Jedi. It wasn't repetitive. It didn't really go over anything that was touched in that. They weren't in the area. I mean, I like that. It's like a whole new era, you know, story just happening at a different time. Truly, for me, this story plot was so well done that I think, for the most part, you could put any character in it and it worked well. You could have put Anakin and Obi-Wan in it when Anakin's the Padawan and Obi-Wan's the Jedi. You could have put Anakin and Ahsoka in it. You could have put any Jedi that we know, and the plot would have held up and could have been taken place during that time. So I like that. It definitely gave me more of a original like Star Wars feel for sure. A couple of the things that I didn't like, there were some other Jedi that I didn't mention, but we kept having flashbacks to 25 years prior with Comac and Orla, and I thought those were totally boring. It was obviously to like make some parallels with the current storyline, and then to tell a little bit about those two Jedi, because obviously one's a master at this point and the other one's going to go become a way seeker, so we're learning a little bit more about them through these flashbacks. But honestly, I like, after I read the first couple, I like skimmed them super fast to make sure I wasn't going to miss anything critical. It was really boring. She could have left that entire flashback portion out. Luckily, the chapters weren't long. They were just a couple of pages each, and it would be every so often. There was only like 4 entries maybe, so that was something that I just really wasn't a big fan of personally. And then also the initial boarding party that entered onto this like ancient alien space station when they were forced out of hyperspace from the anomaly that happened. They weren't fleshed out. Like, she used them a little bit, I guess, maybe to make it feel like it was like lots of ships everywhere being affected. So she added in a bunch of different ships that were there, but you didn't get to know like any characters at all. And the ones that you did were referred to by their species, and they just were very one-dimensional, absolutely. And so I could have gone without that. It honestly could have just been like the vessel and another ship, and that would have been like just fine. Another character named Nan is important to the novel, and I won't give away why exactly, but there was a little bit of a surprise thrown in. I kind of suspected something was up with that character, but again, she was just not very fleshed out for me. I would have liked it if we had learned more about her. So that was kind of a bummer on that end of things. For me, the climax of the story fell a little bit short. I'm not sure why. I think I wanted more of a closure to this like large thing that we found at the end. We found out about this species, and I won't go into it, but like, we just didn't really know anything about them. They didn't explain. It would have been a time, I think it was appropriate if they sat down and like, or maybe somebody had overheard the history of them and why they were doing these things. It just seemed a little like quickly shut off, and maybe it'll get explored in another novel, but I wasn't a big fan of the climax because of that. I think it like, petered out in a way. The denouement was fine. It was a little bit long, lots of different action scenes, lots of, again, multiple points of view in this novel, as all of them seem to be, which was fine. What was really nice about this is I was excited to jump into other characters' points of view. They had separated at times throughout the novel, which was unlike a Test of Courage when they were pretty much all together, just saying. So I did like that. And then the other main thing, which maybe was more of me, I had a really hard time physically visualizing the space station that they were on, and she described it, but I just felt like it wasn't described enough. I actually did end up finding a picture, which I'll show you so that you know, and it was helpful to like get me to understand, because they're on that structure, and the way the structure is laid out is important to the story. So I just wish that maybe it was easier for me to understand. I don't know if that was her description or the way my mind's eye was unable to perceive that. I'm not quite sure, but that was the other thing I didn't like so much, is that I had to go find a picture of this space station to see how it was, made, so that I could figure out how the story was working and where the characters were. But it's okay. I'm glad that there was a picture. I think it was from a comic, because obviously this book is brand new. So that's about it. I mean, overall, I really liked it. I do want to read the final thoughts that I have written here. I said, overall, Claudia Gray's Into the Dark is a compelling YA High Republic novel chock full of interesting, fun characters, history, and mystery. The main setting of the novel kept me reading nonstop, eager to learn more. The inclusion of ancient history was compelling, and the mention of the Sith was refreshing and thought-inducing. While Into the Dark has its shortcomings, like the flashbacks and the flat secondary characters, Gray did a great job trying another Star Wars story. Her plot was synonymous with what Star Wars is and could have been interchanged with any well-known character. Sorry, my writing is very sloppy. It holds its own in the universe, and I am left eager to know more about Reith and the Vessel crew, and cannot wait to reread this book. Overall, I give it a 9 out of 10, and my favorite character was Geode. And if you read this book, you will know why. It's hands down, nobody can have a favorite character other than Geode. I'm just saying. So, anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this book review. Definitely, this was the one that I wanted to read the most, and I was not disappointed. I read it so fast. I read it too fast. I wish I had, slowed it down a little bit and enjoyed it more. It was so interesting to me. So, it's fantastic. I cannot wait to forget some details so I can reread it again and enjoy it. So this will proudly sit next to my other Claudia Gray books. And I hope that this review has helped to decide if you want to pick it up. I do recommend you taking a read. If you're going to read just like one book out of the High Republic series, I recommend this book be the one, because it is very interesting to me. And so anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. And until next time, I will see you guys later.